G'day folks, welcome to Mark and Sam After Work. Today is another one of my little chat videos. I wanted to listen, I suppose I've been having some thoughts about what to do about some of the things that are happening at the moment across our world and some of the things happening here right at home. And it's really about, I suppose, sharing information and trying to be, trying to use the little spread I have in a positive fashion. And to put forward some thoughts. What are the things that are happening at the moment? Well, there's lots of things happening at the moment from the craziness of our Western world, from woke culture to all that side of things, to the government control that we know about, whether it's firearm bans or it's what's going on in schools, or it's what's going on with the racial side of politics that we're moving into now, which I suppose I'll touch on there quickly. We have a vote coming up in Australia, a referendum on a thing called The Voice, which is actually about creating a separate another piece of government, another piece I'd say. They're really duplicating everything under the guise of putting stuff in the Constitution specifically for Aboriginals. Ultimately, I see it as a very racist thing. It's going to end up with, it is definitely talking about things to end up where we have two classes of people, or two types of people in Australia, the Aboriginals and everybody else. So I see it as quite divisive, but I suppose I'm not here to try and put my judgment on that sort of stuff. It's really about what I've had people say some things about there, which largely has been, I'm going to vote this way because some celebrity or some rock star or some politicians or someone said this, so I'm going to do that because I like what they do, so I'm going to agree with that. I find that quite infuriating to hear a judgment made because someone else said something, and I suppose that'll make more sense a little bit. But then things that have also inspired it is some of the stuff that's going on in the world, from the fires in Maui and the craziness or ineptitude or worse that's actually happened over there, and the devastation that the town in Hawaii, or over in Maui, has suffered. Because largely of the more we get out of it, the more of either ineptitude or, like I said, worse.
Locals.
Hi, I'm Christian O'Connor, and I'm housing the Hiahi Strong kids right now that single-handedly saved 20 children, babies. Their sister escaped the fire at Lahaina Luna. The other brother came running, got hit by a tourist car. They run over his foot. They knocked him into the fire. He caught on fire. They turned around, looked right at him, left him for dead. Truck picked him up, took him to Pele Plaza. I housed 3 other men the other night. The man lost his aunt, her husband, 4 children burned alive in their car. We've got 1,526 faces and names on Instagram that the kids, this generation, are looking for, because they're good at that.
Yeah.
You know, countless people have died. There's apparently over 1,000 body bags and mats and containers and refrigerated trucks on the other side of the island right now. You know, I heard 10 firemen died. It's not the firemen's fault.
Yeah.
They didn't have access to water. Water was shut off. Firemen died. The government's trying to blame them. They didn't sound a siren. There was no helicopters that came. No one knew. There were people had gone and picked their kids up from school and brought them home and left them home. One of the kids that's staying at my house, she went knocking on all the neighbors' doors. There was a 10-year-old girl with a crib with a baby in it. She grabbed the baby, grabbed the girl, got her out of there.
Why do you think they didn't turn the sirens on?
I don't know.
Okay.
I think there's a lot going on here that is way beyond anything that anybody wants to believe.
Yeah.
That there was no warning. Fires went from 4 o'clock until 7 o'clock at night going. No military came. The whole community is mourning the deaths of over 1,500 people. They killed innocent men, women, and children by not helping, by not sounding alarms. People were asleep in their homes with their babies and their children. We still have no Spectrum cable, no internet. We're not seeing anything. Everyone else around the world knows what's happening except for us.
And I went out and I saw the fire, and you couldn't even see the gateway because it was covered with smoke. And everyone's standing around just looking. And I said, I think we should get out of here because of the speed of this wind. It could be here in 2 minutes. So I went around back to Front Street, and all the cars were lined up, but none of them were moving. And I walked all the way from Safeway to the Chart House. Not one car had moved. and I was wondering what was stopping the traffic. Well, it was a policeman. And I got to the end and I looked up north. There were no obstructions. There was no reason to keep those cars there.
Are you serious?
I'm serious as a heart attack. And I said, what are you doing? He goes, well, I'm under orders to keep them here. And I said, the fire is right around Safeway. It's going to hit Front Street. You know, these people got to get out of here. And he said, I'm following orders.
No way.
And so I just kept walking. Well, maybe he knows something I don't, you know. So, and I keep walking down the highway, and I look behind, no cars are coming out. I walked all the way to Waikuli Beach, still no cars coming out. And I started hearing boom, boom, boom. And then I heard people screaming and stuff.
You're saying they were blockaded in by the police at the end of Front Street?
Yeah.
Like where the restaurant is?
Where the chart house
Where the chart house was, I should
Right.
say. There was a blockade there and they could not go any further.
Right. From Safeway to there, not one car had moved.
And I suppose then the last bit of all those things, and there's lots more as well, but would be the Oliver Anthony music and this clip here.
I've been selling my soul, working all day, overtime hours for bullshit pay, so I can sit out here and waste my life away, drag back home and drown my troubles away. It's a damn shame what the world's gotten to for people like me, people like you. Wish I could just wake up and it not be true, but it is. Oh, it is living in the new world with an whole soul. These rich men north of Richmond, Lord knows they all just wanna have total control. Wanna know what you think, wanna know what you do, and they don't think you know, but I know that you do. 'Cause your dollar ain't shit, and it's taxed to no end. 'Cause the rich men, 'cause the rich men. I wish politicians would look out for minors, and not just minors on an island somewhere. Lord, we got folks in the street, ain't got nothing to eat, and the obese milking welfare. Well, God, if you're 5'3" and you're 300 pounds, taxes ought not to pay for your bags of fudge rounds. Young men are putting themselves 6 feet in the ground, 'cause all this damn country does is keep on kicking them down. Lord, it's a damn shame what the world's gotten to for people like me, people like you. Wish I could just wake up and it not be true, but it is. Oh, it is living in the new world with an whole soul. These rich men north of Richmond, Lord knows they all just wanna have total control. Wanna know what you think, wanna know what you do, and they don't think you know, but I know that you do. 'Cause your dollar ain't shit, and it's taxed to no end. 'Cause the rich men, north the rich men. I've been selling my soul, working all day, overtime hours for bullshit pay.
That obviously, well, for me at least, it's a very moving thing. You very much understand it. It probably does more to show a true passion and the true problem in another sense. But very much it's not from the left wing or the right wing or political at all. It's very much about the people versus the elite and the people and all the things that man so well put. And I would suggest if you haven't seen or heard of any of those things that is mentioned of, then you need to broaden your information sourcing. It does matter. It is, and I suppose this is where I'd get into what I really wanted to talk about. Many people have said this over the millennia, but that would be that even though most individuals are intelligent to some level or another, some very, some moderately, but as an individual, even a person who isn't higher in intelligence will be still quite smart in a lot of ways because they're thinking and because you're dealing with the individual. But the masses, the people, are almost always very stupid. They follow each other for the same sort of thing as I started with making a decision because someone else is making a decision. But generally what I would say is it involves critical thinking, but it involves the understanding that it does matter what you think, it does matter how you vote, it does matter how you react. And the only way you can do that, honestly, is by being informed. Now that's do the research, that's broaden your information gathering, your news network, whatever it is. Certainly, if of all those things I pointed out, there is always two sides to the story, but largely they're very controversial things that point out things that are very, very important to understand and to pull on that thread a little bit. Pull on it and just see where it goes. Do a bit of research, be a bit wiser, and make people around you wiser. It does matter, these things. There is, in some cases, and some of those threads are going to go very deep, and some of those things are going to maybe, just maybe, turn some of the places you get your information in to take it from all of a sudden what they're saying does not meet what the evidence is. And yes, you can work this stuff out. The likes of the, whatever it is, the likes of the fires, there's lots of information out there, lots more questions than there is answers. But in the vicinity of 1,500 people are probably going from missing to probably dead with what actually happened there, from people not being allowed out of the fires, held in deliberately by the authorities for whatever reason, be it ineptitude or whatever. But these things have actually happened. These are people on the ground that are telling these stories. To the likes of the Oliver Anthony, which is actually Chris, I've forgotten his second name, but his name is a different thing. A very good story to go through why he's doing what he's doing. Very much not about money, not about creating controversy, much more about really sharing feelings that he feels he needs to share of what is happening around his world. And more than anything would be the stand or the amount of people that had it really affected. It's an emotional song if you listen to it and understand where the people really are. And there's so many people that that's connecting to. But more interestingly is there is a side of our world that are fighting it, that are resisting it, they're calling him bad things or that sort of stuff. That shows, well, it's a threat to them. Someone who's being very genuine is a threat to them. That should ring alarm bells for you. There's obviously the politics all over our world, which is getting crazier. Our Western world is in a lot of trouble, and certainly the likes of Canada, the likes of New Zealand, and the likes of Australia are becoming in the crosshairs for some of their stuff, as much as America and the likes of California and Portland and things like that are in big trouble in what they're up to with their politics and that side of things. We're in some cases in front of that, in some cases behind that. There's some big issues with what's going on in our politics, which is driven by our city centres and things and how people think in that world. I avoid going from the lefties, which most people will comment on, although there is more of a trend that way. It's from our population that this is coming from. But this largely comes out of misinformed, really, or informed with a narrative which people are believing. The best way I can see to answer that for everyone, and that's also if you're completely on the right and completely believe everything there is the same stuff happening over there too. As for the balance of things and that sort of stuff, I'm not going to interject all that sort of things. I would ask you do the research. I would ask in any conversation, in anything that is put forward where big things are skipped over, are just taken as you've heard it enough times so it's real, take that away. Take the, mankind did this. How about we prove that? How about we work out what we can prove in so many things? How long a population has been in a place for a particular time? How long, who was the first of the country, the first people, that sort of stuff. Why do we presume this is true? We need to do the research. We need to ask what we can. We need to come up with the answers we've really got. And we need to remove prejudice. That is in the political side of what I see Australia going through. The rights and wrongs of the equation and where things should be, there is a side to that conversation. I would much prefer to look at we've all had to earn our spot to where we are. Yes, there's some imbalance. It tends to be far more with the elite versus the rest of us. But yes, there's some imbalances. But if we're going to start looking in history to try and fix things, what we're going to create is prejudice. We're forcibly bringing back racism in a very nasty way, is my perspective on that sort of stuff. The best way I can answer that sort of stuff, remove prejudice. Stop hating someone because they come from a different country and you're told you shouldn't like that country. Why would a Russian be an any different person as the individual person than you or I are? Why we need to be propaganded into thinking that some race or something is a lot worse than some other thing. Stop and think about it. They're individuals, they're humans. They're just, they put their pants on one leg at a time too, and understand more of that and do the research to make sense of why are you being told this? Why, and the more you go down that research, the more you can start to find out who's telling you the truth. Not all of them are deliberately lying to you. I'm not trying to say that at all. But if they're stuck in the same cycle where they're only told this information and it's been repeated them to a million times, they can be being as honest as they can be because they haven't done the research. So how can you fix that? You do the research. You become wiser. You ask the questions. You don't need to ask them out loud. You can ask them online. You can look and you can research and you can simply figure things out. Communication with your friends, understanding more of this sort of stuff, but be prepared to ask. It is becoming illegal in our world, and while it is still legal, then be wiser and inform all the people you can about the truth. Not the left side, not the right side, just sort out the lies or misinformation in a real sense from the real information. And then I think if we all did that, if we all knew a lot more, I think we'd be all much more on the same team than we would be so thoroughly divided by people that would choose to divide us under the brackets of divide and conquer. Anyway, guys, I know that's a bit political. I'm trying to really be much more about the truth and about honesty. And I would like to share that, certainly Anthony Oliver or Chris, or wherever his name is, as it's a really moving song that I think deserves sharing. And if you haven't seen it in your feed already, then maybe you need to work out a way to put some more relevant information of what's really going on, because I suspect there's a lot of other things you might be missing out on too. Anyway, guys, thanks for checking in. Hope you enjoyed. I'll catch you next time.